I think we should be working now. Hi, folks. Yep. Okay. So there we go. Hi, everybody. How are you doing today? I hope you've been having had a good weekend. You've been having a good week so far. It's been a particularly interesting week in our household. We've lost someone close to us, very close to Lori. So if you can keep my wife in your thoughts or prayers, or however you can there, and because she's really affected by the loss of her mentor. So as we all are, right? That's the thing about when somebody you care about and has had an impact on your world, passes away. So, all right. Now, so that's why we were away yesterday. Now, today, I got a whole bunch of stuff to show you. I got a crazy amount of things. The other day, I put together yesterday, I put together 14 pages to finish for pages, and I'll walk you through those in a second. This is your making up treat for missing yesterday's stream. So the page that I've got posted right now is the page that we started on Friday. We did it as a complete layout. I scanned my layout. I put it in Photoshop. I used it as the base layer, and then I put another layer on top of that, which is imagine it like a see-through sheet of acetate, and then I drew this page on that. And then I went and did different monkeying around in order to have the backgrounds and the embellishments and things like that, and the separations of color and value and shape. So Paula says, hi Chris, don't know how long I can stay, but popping in while making dinner. Oh, that's very nice of you, Paula. Thanks for hopping in. Okay, so this is the page I'm posting, which should have been posted yesterday. But because you guys are such good sports and, understanding that sometimes we need a day away, the other 3 pages that I did today, last night and today, is the first one is your true face. And so this is an example of utilizing one of these images, and I'll show you them in a second, and completing a page out of it. Here is a second one of those, and I'll walk you through what I've gone about doing here. And here is the third. And so they're 3 pretty different approaches to storytelling, the stylistic approach, but they all come from a root source, okay? And then what have we got? 1, 2, 3 so far. Now, I'll switch cameras and show you what I'm referring to. Good morning, Gary. How you doing? Welcome aboard. So I'm going to put the overhead on. Nope, that's the wrong one. I'm going to put the overhead on. And so here is one of the originals. These are some of the original pages that I put together. Now what it is this. I've been gathering up a whole bunch of I've been doing slap and drag. I've been doing jelly plating on paper surfaces. I've been doing brayer off, like rolling paint off with a brayer. I've been building up, and I've been modulating surfaces, like taping things and serrating paper and then sticking different random pieces of paper on things. And so I've been building up a pile of these things, this growing pile. Now, couple that with the fact that Linda's joined us. Hi, Linda. Couple that with the fact that Saturday, my wife and I got into a hardcore clean mode. Hardcore setting. Dial turned up. This one goes to 11. Anyways, this one goes to 11. So in the course of doing so, I decided to go through and sort out some of all of the files and folders that I have. Lori and I started a comic book publisher in 2015. The current book that I'm working on right now is my 31st book. So I've written and illustrated 30 books worth of material. In addition to that, we have published 43 more books since 2015, and regionally distributed, locally printed, locally distributed. And in order to encourage people to take these books, go to conventions with them and say, look, someone took a shot at me, I'm good, give me a shot. And it's all building on the Comic Jam, to 4-page short stories, to 8-page short stories, to ongoing projects. And a number of people have taken advantage of that. So because of that, I have so many drawings, and because I have multiple sketchbooks that I work with, I doodle on paper all the time if I don't have a sketchbook in front of me. And I would throw these things, and I still do this, by the way. I have stacks and stacks. I don't know if you can't see it. This is the stack. Here, I'll hold it in camera. This is the stack of 8.5 by 11 pages of 1-page stories that I've done. And that's just those, right? So I do this. I draw that, here's the thing, toss it to the side. And so I had a whole bunch of stuff in a box I didn't know I had. So I went through it. And all of the stuff that was preparatory work or rough pencils or things like this for published books, shredding. And all of the stuff that is random drawings and idea generation and character studies that I've done nothing with, went to a second pile. And I went through that second pile and I started pulling together a whole bunch of images to use. So that's where we're going to walk through this stuff. And so if you do this like me, if you save all your scribbles and scraps and drawings, not just your scraps of paper and your different exotic things that you can collate into collages, save all your doodles, save all your studies of different faces you've drawn, no matter how good or bad you think they are. Save your random stick figure drawings, whatever it is. You know, I like drawing trees. Save them. And I'll show you why. Marguerite's joined us. Hi, Marguerite. Okay, so we've got... have I got everybody who's joining us? Okay, awesome. It's your thumbsies uppies. Oh, that's so nice. Okay, so 14 pages. Now, this I'm going to step you through really quickly, and I'm going to jump back and forth, so bear with me. So this is the original art, and these random sheets of paper are torn up drawings, torn up things that I worked on and then discarded. This is another one of those, okay, that I then incorporated into this. Unified the image, doing, you know, continuing some of the motifs and stuff like that, and this is the finished page. So there we go. So this is putting it into the computer now and adding some text to it. Now it's not necessarily a story, traditional story per se, but it's bird takes wing. It's bird-like, takes wing. It's all about flying, and it's the sort of instigator of thought to get us thinking about birds and planes, birds and things we make to fly. Right? That's it. That's all sometimes story can be. It's just a suggestion of an idea for the person reading it to run with. So there's our first one. Now, number 2. This is a whole bunch of sketches of a villain I was going to use for a piece. It's on white paper. I have bonded the white paper to this yellow lined legal pad, and then I took some of the lime tree paint that I picked up, part of the art hole I'll show you, and included some of these cutout heads that I had for some reason, and put those over top of that. So that is the original, and the finished page speaks to the idea of your true face. There's the face we show. There's the face, you know, that we have, that people that know us well enough know to look for those little, oh, you're stressed, aren't you? How can you tell? Because they know your face. And then there's that face that we look at in a mirror, and we look at and we see all the imperfections and flaws and ridiculousness about our own expressions. But it's the us, and it's the us that we know. So that's what this page is about. That's what this story is about. Jim saying, just popping in to say hello. Hey, hello, Jim. How are you, sir? So Paula says, do I know Max Headroom? Do I know Max Headroom? Really? Oh, I love Max Headroom. He's ridiculous. Okay, so there is the finished page, and there is our source material. 2 down. So here's another one. So this is the prepped page, and again, this incorporates a whole bunch of little pieces of paper that are put together and on this fake tie-dye. Remember the fake tie-dye paper I have? So some of that's coming through, and there's ink work on here now. There's paint on here. This one has paint on top of ballpoint pen drawings, and here we've got paint markers and water-based ink pens, and then paint with that, and you know, lots of fun in the sun, right? So here's this one, and it's got pencil crayon in it. So there's our initial image, and 1 minute, we're getting there. There's the finished page, and so this page is about secret spies, and so I'm going to post all of these pages on my Patreon. But the secret spy, specific things of note to keep in mind in your career as a secret spy, and it so lists off everything. Most of it's serious, and a little bit of condemnation there. But the final one is, don't dress in fancy clothes that make no sense to fight in. Do not wear a bolo tie, as they are not considered stylish in many places. So just good and silly fun. So anyhow, so this is the start. Now, and so you can see the reason that I showed you those first and showed you the finished result is that it's putting together these random working surfaces that, you know, that I've been fabricating, but at the same time it's also utilizing discarded material, discarded work that we've done. Like these are all thrown away drawings, and this is just a little character sketch of a guy, and this was just part of a face that I drew the rest on quickly to match the rest of them. The context, the scene in behind, doesn't necessarily matter, because what you're focusing is on the text that's overlaid and the fact he's wearing a bolo tie, and I say it's stupid. So, well, bolo ties aren't stupid, but they're not considered fashionable in some places. So that's the gist of this, is to take these random drawings, these random sketches, and these ideas that we've done that we don't think we're going to utilize in something, or we don't think it's up to snuff, but you can still take this random glider drawing, bird glider, and utilize it for something else, you know, and to add elements to it, to incorporate it into something else that you've got available. So with that in mind, here's make sure I'm said hi to everybody. Thank you so much, you guys, for the thumbs up and stuff. So this is, you can see some random scraps of paper that I've got put down on this craft paper, okay, and one of them overlaps the other. I've gone in with some white paint already, some of this light blue craft paint that I picked up, part of the craft art supply haul. So just to start to build up this image. So there's our beginnings, our development of it, okay. I'm going to turn this one camera down so it doesn't glare so badly. There we go. Okay, so there's one. Here's another one with some cars. Here's a person with an oxygen mask going over your face, to go over your face. And this is on top of a Braille-off page that is utilizing a discarded piece of paper that I had from prints that I don't like. I did these prints, and I'm like, I draw better than that now. I'm not going to use those. So Paula says, it ain't called a dicky bow for nothing. Oh, you case me, yes it is. So this is me taking these random illustrations that I've cut out and I've put down together, and let me zoom in on some of these so you can see, and turn that one all off. So it's just, so you see this braided off page, got some different pieces of paper stuck down to it, and I've just cut out some of these random scribbles that are on paper and it went nowhere. So it's largely an empty piece of paper. Well, I put that into pulping so I can make some homemade paper with it, and then I took these images, and I put them together, and this is structured in a sequential way so that I can tell a story using that and incorporating all those elements together and drawing things over top, and and putting the text there. So there's the start of a page, just like the previous one with the cars. Here's a big landscape with a person holding up a piece of chalk, and so as I'm doing these things, I'm looking at it going, well, what could this be? And this says chalk landscape. So this is like giving myself a completely random idea that I have to use later. This one is foul temper. Apparently I thought that this guy has a foul temper. This is risky speeders. So this one, I'll tell you the story on this one, because this one's fun. This is the Eagles, man. So this one's about, and again, it's the drawings of the glider I showed you from before. And it's just a conversation about how I don't really like the Eagles, but I like some of the guys individually away from them. So, okay, so we'll jump back to that. So these are just ideas that I just thought of for a second about what have I got here as I'm doing these pages. Here's a person clenching a heart. Here's a ballerina. It says wee, and this one says passion on the back. So is this going to be a story of passion or romance or dedication to becoming a ballerina in her craft and having heart? I don't know. But here's a guy breaking into a car, and here's a couple more images of cars. I'll jump in because this is a little blasted out here. And so you can see a little closer some of the images of cars that I was sketching, trying to figure out how to draw cars. And it's a little faded out, but there's a guy breaking into a car. And this is called car break-ins. And so I have to figure out something with that. This has even got a piece of acetate with stuff I've drawn on acetate. And I guess it's more of a, well, it's an overhead sheet. Anyway, it's a clear plastic. But there's a floor plan that I did for a convention that I'm the art director of. Here's some different fighting scenes, and then here's, of course, all these police gathering up to engage with a convention riot, is what I wrote down for that one. So I've got drawing of a skull. Hold on, I'll pull out again. There's a drawing of a skull. Here's a piece I've printed on in individual print letters. Let them eat. And then here's a piece of paper that I've used with other sheets of painting over top of it. So and this is called Let Them Eat. Okay, so this one, oh, and then I've got some that I've still yet to finish, like the Race Is On. I never did anything with all these submerged cars. Here's a really cool piece of jelly plating, which has got this crowd scene in front of a Victorian landscape and some additional panel shapes. And then here's another one. This is the stencil that I made of a loon that I printed onto that red one, and the red one became that. So I've got 14 of these sheets. Now the last bit is this. Now this is page 1, and it's a person reflecting back on this story of fighting for a city, like a violence through a city. And so there's these little panels of actions. There's the backdrop of buildings. Here's again reasserting the building idea. There's some more moments, and then again some more of these cast of characters, and ending with a skull. So I'll switch to the other. So you can see some of the different elements are drawn in pencils. This one's drawn in a blue ballpoint pen. This is a pencil crayon on manila paper, and so this is a 1, 2, 3 piece that I'm going to do a short story from, utilizing these cast-off pieces of material. Looks like King Charles. There we go. Yeah, I believe you're all going to have to stop fighting. I don't know why they don't listen. Anyway, so this is this big old pile of jazz that we've got here of all these images and uncompleted things, and then things that we've now taken someplace else and done something with. So I've got I did these 3 this morning, and I've got this wealth of stuff to work on, and so I'm going to catch up on stuff from my patrons and the extra little tiddly bits that I try to show them. How you doing, Anne? Welcome aboard. Paula says it looks like King Charles, but he needs bigger ears. Speaking of ears, I received a new eraser. This eraser was given to me by my good friend David. Here it is. There's the box. And inside is my new eraser. Get it? His name is Fred, by the way. It's an eraser. It's Fred's eraser. It might be Fred's ear. This is ridiculous. I love this so much. I don't want to use it because, listen, I don't want to use my ear eraser for just any old thing. I want it to, to help me make something look and sound great. Anyways, so a couple other things I got. I got these this package of tools from the dollar store. They're rubber at the top. They've all got different tips to them, different shapes, and I'm really looking forward to utilizing these in a whole bunch of different ways. I don't know if I can use them as brushes, like to move paint around with them too, but either way, these are great, and I'm really looking forward to putting some of this to work. Like you can see the chiseling on this side, flat plane on that side. Look at that. Anyways, here's a brush. It looks like a brush head type thing here. A flat chisel tip, right? This is a wedge chisel tip, the first one I showed you. There's this round with a flat edge. This one's got all kinds of crazy business going on with it, but anyway, so this is some of the stuff that I picked up. I just spat out my wine. Oh no, I'm sorry. We do not waste wine on this stream. So here's some of the craft paints that I started using. I picked up, these are dollar store paints, and so I've got those to use. But I found something else that's crazy. So everybody's seen those craft paints, they're really inexpensive. The other thing I found is I cut these out, I don't know how long ago, on this heavy cardstock that I have here. I cut these shapes out as stencils, right? So I've got these stencils to use in different projects, in different backgrounds. This one's fun, huh? And yeah, I'm looking forward to that because there's so much that we can get out of that, like something like this shading value on a box or something, or this sense of form for it now because we got this circle carrying the vanishing points for the box. But just elaborate little ideas that I might have had. So these are stencils that I can utilize in whatever it is that I'm working on. So I'm quite pleased about those. So there's one example I can show you of utilizing one of these, and it's right there. So yeah, so these are great. These are good fun, and I'm really looking forward to these, to doing some of these. So this is going to be cool. Now I want to show you a couple books before we move on. So just listen for a second, and we'll get through this. Also, look with your eyes. So I don't have an eye eraser. It doesn't work. It's not as fun. So this little book that I've got here, this Brief History of Art, right? The ISBN for this is 9781844514458. What I like about this, and the reason that I'm pointing this out, how you doing, Stacy? Welcome aboard. The reason I'm pointing this out is that it talks about every one of these individual artists, and it examples one piece of their work, just one large, elegant reproduction. Now, scale-wise, this isn't a big book. It's a thick book, but it's not a very large book. Okay, I'll show you. So there's my hand to it, although, you know, pigments. So it just walks through and shows examples of all these different artworks and all of these different approaches to mark making and storytelling. And something like this is, there's a wealth to it. There's a wealth of examples and opportunities for people to explore. It's so wonderful. Paula says, "Ooh, I have this book." Nice. And Marguerite says, "I want that book." Well, I gave you the ISBN. This book I picked up at, I think, like Indigo Chapters, something like that, someplace like that. So it's, check Cole's books as well, if you're Canadian bound, and Barnes and Noble. I think all those companies are related. So it has this beautiful, just one piece after another, after another, after another, and there's just so many little insights into different things that we can try to apply in our own creative expression. And it's a brief history of art. So that's one. Another one I want to show you, to just completely jump directions. This is, Paula says, "Who were the first mark makers? Just for joy, cavemen?" Oh yeah, you bet they were. Come on. Putting pigment in your mouth and spitting it over your hand? How's that not fun? Okay, this is a book that Lori picked up at the Tea Dragon Society. It won the Will Eisner Award, which Will Eisner is the guy who did the Spirit magazine in 1938, creator of the graphic novel, or inventor of the graphic novel, and I have shown his Comics and Sequential Art how-to book on the stream here before, and I will again if people are interested. So this is a really lovely piece that has such a unique style. But when you look at this, okay, when you look at this, there's a couple of different ways that we could do this. We could do this approach, and one of those is cutting out paper. You know, you could cut paper out and put paper on a surface and put together all these nice flat colors, these flat values, and then this would be a little more complicated to put together, to fabricate the branches or the plant here with the little leaves, but it could be done. And everything that's in this entire story, you'll notice the big signifier for it is there's no crisp line edges on everything. It's just flat value to the extreme, except for it isn't. If you look really close, you'll see really light defining lines based in the same color that the volume of value is in. So here's this value here, and right along the edge is a really tiny example that you can just briefly see inside the image as it's in the camera now, which is why I'm still on the zoom. So this is a pretty awesome example. Lori's got a really great eye for really lovely art. And this is a really, really nice book. The ISBN for this is 978-1-62010-441-5. And this is by Katie O'Neill. I've got her name right here at the bottom of the screen. Just lovely. Just a lovely book, and it's called The Tea Dragon Society. Now, the other one I wanted to show you is an incredible... Paula says she imagines cavemen drinking prehistoric hooch and spitting their wife's portrait on the cave walls. Maybe. I don't think we found any portraits yet. Jeffrey Jones, okay, and for a little overview history, specifically oriented towards, whoops, I'm so sorry, the comic types. There's a couple in sequential comics that are still going today. Their names are Louise and Walter Simonson. And she's called Wheezy. She's one of the earliest standalone in an industry largely masculine. Louise Simonson is a brilliant editor, brilliant writer, and she's been around the industry for a long time, since the 70s, early 70s. And So, Wheezy, as her nickname is, before she met and married Walt, she had met and married and eventually divorced Jeffrey Jones. Jeffrey Jones, Bernie Wrightson, name's escaping me, Barry Windsor Smith, Chaikin. I'm trying to think. All of these different creators, all of these different artists. Oh, and it was either P. Craig Russell, I think, is the other one. I think it is. Anyways, all of these different writers and writer-artists lived in the same building or would hang out in the same building, and many of them shared studio space together. And Walt Simonson as well. And so, and all of them went on to be very, very strong storytellers and very strong, unique individual image makers. Now, Jeffrey also went by way of book covers and things like that, as opposed to sequential storytelling as his primary thing. He went more towards, graphic covers and things like that. But his work is wonderful and elegant and has a real comprehension of form. I'm going to move to the zoom for a sec, so hopefully it's not too jumpy for people today. So you can see his line work is just, now, and his painting work is just elegant. There's just a soft simplicity to that. Last week I showed you John J. Muth, M-U-T-H, and there's a sort of similarity in the sensitivity of their work, that they have a real understated application that they build up. And just wonderful work. I'm going to be careful not to shock and awe some of you with some graphic images, but like you can just see, even working in the sepia and the sort of sword and sorcery-esque. So he did a whole bunch of these covers, but this idol thing that you just saw pop up, this is his ongoing series that he did. Here's some of his paintings, and just fantastic stuff. I'm going to pull back again, okay, just to show you some larger images, and I'm sorry for the glare. But these are the original, this is the original image that would then be put on a book cover and would probably be cut down to that. So, you have that charcoal spent over your head, Biff was here. That's true, Marguerite. That's a good one. So here's some of his book cover work, and just great oil painting and the Vampire Women. Ooh, right? There you go. There's a close-up on the Vampire Women, just so you know what to watch out for. Which is not as good as the doors of his face, the lamps of his mouth, and other stories. But a beautiful image painted on there. Lady holding a rose. Anyways, his work is just, I always loved his covers. There's two cover artists that I think stand out as example above so many others that are in the sword and sorcery, fantasy, sci-fi, novella. There's so many different artists and so many different people doing pieces, but Frank Frazetta and, in my mind, Jeff Jones are the ones that stand above, because there's just something about their work. And at least for their time period, there's also Leyendecker and a bunch of other painters, but they're 20, 30, 40, 50 years earlier. So you can see just some really simplistic approaches in the cover of the book, as opposed to your standard title or author title and a little bit of a description. Fafud the Barbarian and the Grey Mouse, or Fafud and the Grey Mouse are fantastic characters. Anyhow, the haunting of the Romro. So you got this lady hiding behind a gravestone, and here's these, hooded, who knows what, coming towards him. Just so much wonderful work. The Sargasso of Space the original painting for this is a prime example of the original painting has so much more space around it. But and then here's some of his pen and ink work with Zipatone lay down for the gradation and stuff like that. So Jeff Jones, just an all-round fantastic artist. Spaceship, giant. So I can't really fit the whole thing in here, but there is a spaceship floating in the sky that a gigantic, I don't know, godlike being has come across to look at. Anyhow, just wonderful. And even scribbling, even allowing himself the opportunity for the sketch work to take on its own flourish. That's, you know, rendering. Just wonderful stuff, and how you can stylistically, you know, simulate a rock face here with a young girl walking in front of it in the grass, and just a really, sorry, I can't, I got that glare on, and I apologize, it's the type of paper. Girl by the rocks. And but you can capture all the essence of what you need in your composition this way. So I'll jump back into some of his painting work, but I really wanted to share Jeffrey Jones with this. My hubby has a huge collection. This is Paula. My hubby has a huge collection of comics and music mags going back 30 years. I admit to being fascinated, but with no knowledge. It's amazing. Thank you, Chris. X. That's 4 X's. Anyways, so these are these are some of his paintings. So you can see the dry brush gesturing that's done here. So you can see. Am I in the zoom? I'll jump to the zoom, so you're going to see some of the canvas peeking through because of the way that that's applied. Look at the top of it. All those brown marks is the canvas. But what a wonderful grasp of painting water, painting a view from a window or some such. And here it is in its rougher state. You know, just wonderful work. And if you get a chance, please take a look at Jeff Jones. Now, for a time, Jeff has always been a person who was battling with mental health issues. And I'm not saying you got to be mentally unhealthy for this to be the case, but at one point he was always trying to balance who he was internally and externally. And so for a while he called himself Jeffrey Catherine Jones. So I have 2 versions of this same book. One, Jeffrey Jones, Life and Art, and the other one is Jeffrey Catherine Jones, A Life and Art. It's because I love Jeff Jones. But this, you know, so you can see, like, look at this pencil work right here. Look at that pencil work. Great economy of line, but at the same time, there's weight there. You know, there's form there. And then his watercolor that's applied here, look at the simplicity, the elegance, the looseness of that. You know? And then the rough, podgy application of white paint over a mixed background. Right? Such great stuff. But worth looking at. Worth looking at by far. So, there you go. I could show you Jeffrey Jones, I'm sorry, his work all day, but, you know, we got stuff to do. So, lots and lots and lots and lots and lots. I'll give you the ISBN one more time in case I forgot to at the start. The ISBN for this is 978-160-107375. That's 40 years of a person's work. It's a nice big thick one. Bingo. Okay, so that's the stuff I thought I'd show you today, book-wise. There's some of the fun tools I thought I'd show you that I picked up. If anybody knows specifically what the use of these is for, let me know, because I know all the different ways I'm going to use them. But is somebody going to say, you're using those wrong? Let me know. You know, I'm all ears. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. All ears. There we go. All right. Listen, I don't want to make any mistakes. I can't keep doing that joke. So, okay, so I've got, just to jump back. Now, I've got all of these surfaces that I've put together. Am I in the zoom? Let's go to the open top. So, I've got all these surfaces that come together. Now, Linda Toman Crease. Welcome aboard, Linda. Nice to see you. So this is one of the stencils that I've just cut with yellow paint on a black piece of cardstock. And then here's some of these mixed images. If there's anything that anybody sees, let me know what you think. Are they for blending out, says Paula? I don't know. Because I took it out of its packaging before I looked at what it's for. But I just looked and went, those look like they'll be handy. You know, and they're $2. So, and they're really pretty. These are pretty tools, folks. But yeah, it's plastic, the ends of them. So I've got all these surfaces. Now we can do a couple different things with them. We can apply some, like I've already started putting some different values of paint down into this one, and building up this image and bleeding this image over top of that one, because it's one thing just pasted half over another. So we can also carve this back out, the shape of this building, into this composition, so it sits out again over the corner. That's another thing we can do with that. Or we can start doing some finishes on this and build up some of these lines and values again. We can push and pull with our mark making. And what I refer to by that is if we go, let's say, grab a white Posca. One of the things we can do with that Posca is you know, start cutting some white shapes. And I'll zoom in for this, I'm sorry. And so you can see these white add-ins that I'm doing as I'm pulling up some of the value in these scribbles, so that we can give them a little more form, a little more dimension, and do something with them. Now we've also got different inks and different pencils and different all kinds of different tools that we can utilize in adding some depth and some shape and some form. I can go over and do some pencil crayon washes on this, because this is all sealed in matte medium that I affixed the different pieces of paper in that down to the surface, and I'll pull back one more time just so you can see the whole surface. So I've affixed these different papers onto this cardstock that has some brayer off on it, and this is on top of a print that I did that I don't care for, so I reuse these. Here's another one. So you reuse these print pages, and you can see it a little bit of it along the edge over here, right? So that why waste them? But it also gives some fun lines and color shifts around the outside edge. So, and then this texture here from the rolling a brayer on there. Lots and lots of fun things that we can do, folks. You know, I've got tapes, and I've got paints, and I've got every mark making tool, jumping animal wazoo that I can. But you know, we can also take some of these patterns and these embellishments and put those in throughout the composition. So we've got lots of different things that we can do. But if anybody sees any of these that really stand out to them as some sort of idea, like this is the one I think I called it Convention Riot, and we can try putting some, well, let's try it right now. Okay, Chris. There you go. The Posca paint applies over top of the matte mediumed up piece of clear plastic that this drawing is on top of. And so we can start cutting, jumping cameras again, I'm so sorry. So we can start cutting into some of these shapes, right? And start applying some of this, you know, just giving it some form. And start applying some of this to these different surfaces that we have going on here. You know, and then of course, depending on if we want to cut panels around these shapes, if we want to draw backgrounds in on some of the illustrations, we can get so much more from cast off materials. So here's the fun part. One more second. I have something to show you. What is it, Chris? Boy, am I glad you asked. This is more. So I have all of these bits. It's not, the camera's not upside down, the picture was. So here's a foot drawn on a scrap of manila, just to figure out the placement of a foot. Here's all these bits of paper torn up, different parts of images. There's the bottom of a pillar. You know, there's the other half of that word heron, blue heron. You know, here's a guy drawn in green. So we can incorporate all of these imperial. We can incorporate all of these images into what we're working on. There's an image of a blue heron there. Some more of those floor plan drawings, and this is where we start getting into these sketches. Here's flowers bursting out from a vanishing point. Here's some more stamped letters. I pulled out my letter sets. Some illustration work. Here's some bald ladies running. Here's some dragons. You know, just scribbly dibbling, but we can utilize all of these in the same way of what I've just done and start putting together a whole bunch more pages and getting all of these things, you know, one on top of the next on different surfaces and develop up some more images. Here's a portrait. There's a portrait. Doo-dah, doo-dah. Here is scary face. Ooh. Here's a guy who's having a bit of a headache. You know, here's drawing on top of drawing on top of drawing. And I do that, by the way, especially if I'm just trying to warm up and do some loose studying, is that I'll draw, you know, and I'll draw another face in another color on top of it. And I've shown my sketchbooks here. It's the same thing. Hello, welcome to the program. Does anybody have any Grey Poupon? And then again, more scribble together compositions of people not getting along. And then different kinds of paper that I found, different cast off sheets of paper. So good fun. So I've got lots more of this to do more of these. Big thumbs, big thumbs. I don't know what people think of this idea. And is it just me, or do other people do this where they're sketching ideas out or scribbling something down and then, oh, I don't like that, and they don't finish it, or they step away from it, or you know, I can't use that, his elbow's wrong, or whatever random thing. This sketchbook that I have here, that I'm dumping things out of because too many of these papers stuffed in the back of it. So with this sketchbook that I have here, this is just me scribbling down isolinear cubes, or isometric cubes, I'm so sorry. Just because interesting how cuboid shapes can be interpreted different ways from looking at the same object. Anyhow, but here's a page that I built from these scribbles here. And you know, all these different arms holding blabbers, and they blab, go blap blap blap, right, like those. So this is the sort of stuff I'm talking about taking this image out of here and utilizing it in another thing. So if you're practicing drawing different little elements at a time, or here's this crazy old guy with a rocket jetpack, you can utilize some of these things in other compositions, you know, which I've done. I've done this, and I've shown these. Hold on, I'll pull that in and out with the camera. So these elements here were utilized in the page, and here, look out, it's an F-150, right? So these are the sort of things that we can do with our scribbles and our studies, and you know, photocopy it if you want to, if you don't want to wreck your sketchbooks, but then allow yourself to cut out this crazy mummy, I think it's a peat bog person, and put that in an image. it just puts a little stamp on it, a little bit more you. It's nothing. It's just as good to use, magazine images and stuff like that. It's the same thing. But sometimes those little notes, those little story scribble, a guy, the only guy with the key, passes gas in an elevator and locks everybody in with him. There's a dumb story idea somebody might scribble down, and okay, well, there's something to start with and something to go on, And even if you're doing the mental thing that I do of drawing on top of drawing, you can still pull these out, come in with a white paint Posca pen, and start putting those white shapes back in there, but then you get some fun little colors peeking through, like the orange is peeking through in the area that I just put some white marks down on, right? Hold on, I'll zoom in again. So, right here, in the rhino ear. So I put some, there's an orange illustration behind it, but now it's just become this nice little added value, a chromatic value added in this drawing of a rhinoceros. And then of course I do the same thing over the pink, and some of that pink leaks through around the edges where the marks, the line art that is of the existing drawing that we're using, the underdrawing and the different value that it's in. Some of those are things that leak through in the overlap of lines, But we can, this is for a project. Here's again more studying of whatever, but these can all be used. We can cut some of these people out and use them in other compositions, or here's a lot of action and movement going on, and we can utilize those. So, it's again, there's more of this kaleidoscopic craziness. So, but there's so much that we can utilize from not throwing out our sketches and our drawings and our studies. So, Nancy's showing us. Hi, Nancy. How you doing today? So, we've got some of these sheets to work from here. And again, as usual, 2/3 of the way through a thing, and I remember to say, if you've got an idea for a story that you want to suggest, if you've got a couple of word prompts you want to try throwing at me, or fish, rutabaga, and trombone. All right, whatever it is. By all means, please feel free to put it in the comments for this video, or in the chat while we're live, and I'll write those down in my handwritten book, or you can put it on on any of the social media posts that I do on Facebook or Instagram. And I post a page a day, Monday through Friday. And Paula says, sorry guys, need to go. Catch the rest with breakfast. Thank you, Chris. Oh, thank you so much, Paula. Thank you for coming out. So this way people can see the results of the suggestions made. The page that I did on Friday was a rather involved suggestion, and I'll just show that once more. And this is, I drew this digitally, which means entirely in the computer. And so the suggestion for this page is: a bard, a sellsword, and a damsel walk into a tavern, sit down, where they're joined by a wizard. And so I have the three of them coming from an adventurous, what is it he says? Having just rescued a lady in distress, a strong flagon of ale is what is required. And we need to find a wizard in this tavern. And so once they've sat down, up comes this IT nerd who says, well, hello there. I have been known to be called a wizard with computers. So specificity and suggestions doesn't mean that I still won't take liberty with things. I'm not a wizard like Gandalf. Yeah. It's a wizard with computers. Or I will come and find you, just saying. Yeah, so there's lots of different things that we can do with stuff. some of these other pages that I've been showing you the originals from, we can do in different processes and apply different types of story to the things that we're experimenting with our creative expression, and that's kind of fun. You know, it doesn't have to have some resounding, full blown out story that has the be all and end all of epic, an epic existence, or this story covers the Napoleonic Wars. Sometimes it can just be taking an idea like birds takes wing, bird like, you take wing. There's the ideally somebody sees that and it starts making them think about the relationship between birds and planes, because this glider which is based on bird shape, but it has clearly got engines at the bottom and a cockpit in the front. Well, planes are like birds, and now we've made somebody create their own story. Lazy. So we've got all these other ones that I can work on. Is there anything that anybody saw of the pages that I've shown that they would like me to further develop here in the stream while we're still here together? Did I do the 13 Tesla and the red and blue lights? Not yet, Stacy. That's definitely in my rotation. I've got that one lined up. What did I do? You had a suggestion that I just did. What was that? I'm trying to think of what I've got it here in the book, though. I've got the 13 Teslas and the red and blue lights. What was really exciting about that suggestion that Stacy is talking about is that a number of the people that were in the stream at the time talked about their different ways of seeing that idea. 13 Teslas and red and blue lights, which is such a fantastic base notion, a base idea. People were seeing Tesla cars lined up to get charged, and then people arguing in a parking lot and police coming up, and I'm trying to, I think what I actually saw was 13 different versions of Nikola Tesla having a disagreement in a parking lot, and the police have to come and break it up, which I realize is, but that's what my head does, is that when we're associative and allow ourselves to be open to whatever inclination we may have in that moment to pursue, when somebody makes a wonderful suggestion like 13 Teslas and red and blue lights, no two of us are going to do the same thing. And that, ideally, is what we're looking for as storytellers, because that being allowed to take departures with things and to pursue your own direction, your own intuition as it takes you through the story, is going to automatically make it something unique and original and yours. Stacy also sent me an image that I have downloaded, so I can and I will show everybody tomorrow, because I can't find where it downloaded to, and it drove me a little bit crazy before the stream, Stacy. But there's a really cool image that she sent, and if Stacy's okay with me sharing that, I also wanted to ask you first. Nancy says, enjoy the random absurdity. Sure, there's the random absurdity that you can apply, which, let's be honest, I tend to be silly. But at the same time, we can do ideas that are larger than our absurd notions. Like if I go back to faces, the face page that I did, that is, I'll put the original on, or I'll put the page up on Patreon, because it's a weekend page. But this page is taking these different iterations of dark and spooky face person, but it's talking about the different faces that we wear: the external public face, the private face that's shared amongst those that are trusted and valued to us, the personal face and how we evaluate our own face, and oftentimes look for the imperfections. And, you know, we make silly faces in a mirror that we wouldn't make anywhere else. And even shaving, the faces that people, you know, that men or people with facial hair make as they're shaving, you know, some of the silliest faces that come off of this mug. So that's that private face, you know, and it's okay with being awkward, right? Like you know, like when I talk about a secret face that we only see in our mirrors at home, that face comes without makeup. That face makes silly expressions. It has acne. It has scars. It keeps its bad hair days. It's okay with being awkward. See, I love that goofy face, and but it sort of speaks less about the absurd, and speaks more to. It's another one of these suggestions of that we need to do with each other, and that is to remind each other to love ourselves. I don't mean like love ourselves. You know what I mean. Billy Joel's The Stranger. There we go. That's a fun song. It's a good reference, actually. So, you know, this one looks serious. Of course, I make it not serious by the end of it. But even Bird Takes Wing, this is one of those pages where it's less of a given A, B, C, D story, and it's more of an idea given forward. Bird takes wing. This is bird-like. It takes wing, and makes you think about the difference. So we can do all kinds of different approaches to story, but it's really important that people allow themselves to enjoy the random absurdity, to enjoy the opportunity to, you know, be a little, allow yourselves to be a little deeper if you feel the calling to do so. If you want to be mushy, be mushy. If you want to have a piece about, you know, I love daffodils, you know. Jim has asked, Chris, are you live, or is this Al? Stacy says that. I can't see the. How do I get rid of the heart thing in the corner? That can be a page with women. Or that one, the page with the women. I'm sorry. Okay, the page with the women. What have I got for a page with women? There's the car. This one? Oh, not Al. I don't know what you mean. I don't know about you, but I name my computer as Al. Okay, so, and then there's the 3-page thing. We'll work on that later too. So, okay, so here we go. Okay, Stacy says, yes! All right, so here I've got a couple of different really discordant elements, right? When you look at it, and we'll bring it in a little bit closer, artificial intelligence. Yeah. I can be your bodyguard. You can call me Al. I'll call you Betty. Anyways, so these random elements that are here together in this one, and I'll pull in a little closer so we can look at some of this. Green piece of tape. Here's a couple of pink pieces of paper. Here's a piece of paper with letters printed on it that says "wee," because that's fun. Here's a ballerina, and here is a hand squinching sponge or a heart or whatever we decide for it to be. So I guess one of the first things that we can do is try to figure out ways to uniformly tie things together in some kind of way, right? To the very least have some kind of unification of this image. And I mean, some of the ways that we can do that is by developing values one way or another. Okay, so we've got this free real estate up here that we can put an image down. We can, you know, adventure into drawing some more if we want to do this piece in relationship to, you know, a young lady and her dedication to her craft and wanting to be a ballerina. We could incorporate a couple of images of her spinning or her doing some of the different ballerina. This is me being a ballerina, by the way. That's what this is. This gesticulation is me imagining myself doing a ballerina-ette, pirouette, whatever it's called. So we can put these elements through here and think about the carriage, because what we want is the carriage of the reader's eye from up here, big X, to down here, big X. And whether we walk it through this way or not, or we dance it across in this sort of motion, but we want to bring people from this part to that part. And the reason that I move my hand across the page is that we have this entire field, this entire frame of reference. We want to use it. There's no point in having a dead side of an image or dead corner that has nothing going on there other than an abstraction, unless that falls in suit with making something of it. I did a page recently. Here it is. And this page is, I scanned a mixed media surface that I made, and I put it down, an image down on it flat. And so this is the end result. So I've drawn in ballpoint pen on this horses and this Colosseum and this senator going, what? So, but it incorporates some of these elements that were pre-existing in the background, in the existing background. And I'll show you that just to try to help illustrate the idea that we can take this random base like this, and I'll turn it on its side just to, how do I do that? You know what, good enough for now. And I can't figure that out. My brain isn't working like that. So we can take this image and we can lay over top of it nice and flat an illustration that utilizes some of the shapes and forms. Like there is from the upper center area, there's a slight scoop or a half circle shape there, and then there's a line underneath it in an arc pattern. The text follows that arch right along into the next part of that continuing line, the continuing arch. And so even though this feels like this piece of the page is dead visual space, because sequential storytelling is utilizing visual images, textual images together, my idea there is that, well, I'm not continuing a visual element because the background's so ornate, we're just going to utilize that, but put the textual element moving across it, and thereby directing your eye through that dead corner. So we can do stuff like that. It's available to do so. Nancy's singing Paul Simon here. So with this one, if we break this page up into, let's look at it. So I'll bring the sketchbook out, and I got this fountain pen here. We'll call him Charlie. And so if we look at our page, at our surface, okay, I'll zoom in on that. Bingo. So we've got this, our surface, okay, and so what we'll do is that we've got this to example our structure. So we've got a piece of value here with the green. We've got a couple of these pink values here. We've got we moving across. I'll move this all up, okay, and then we've also got our ballerina and our fist holding a sponge or a heart, or however you feel about it. So there is the key elements in our composition. And she says, I'm a musician, all music, all the time. There you go. All music, all the time. Speaking of which, Nancy and everybody else that's here. Fake Explosion, folks. Fake Explosion is coming back. And if you don't know Fake Explosion, it's the soundtracks and all of the additional musics that are put together for a number of animated films by a certain friend of our program here. And they're coming back. There's some new Fake Explosion projects that are coming out right now, and I'm just started talking to Jim Luan about joining me on the stream here for us to have a chat about all these new albums that he's producing, right? He's got a funky one. He's got a very country-esque one that's out now. But stay tuned for that because it's super cool, you know? Mariah says, hello all, hanging in the background. Hi, Mariah. In an hour, Mariah will be on streaming today with Patricia. Okay, so we've got these different parts of the whole. Okay, yeah, but look up Jim Luan's name is in the chat, so look up under Jim's YouTube channel, folks, and look up Fake Explosion. Fake Explosion. One word. Fake Explosion. Bingo. Not for the babies. Not for the kiddies. Those are mom and dad songs. So, just because it has the occasional weird and beauty and expression. Okay, so we've got this composition laid out. We've done a rough little scribble of this is where it's at. What are we going to do with this? So, a couple of different things you can try is to take a different value, a different color, and then start figuring out, well, if I put a panel, can you see that? Can you see the red? It's red, red, exciting. There we go. So, how can we incorporate some of these shapes into a narrative structure? So we've got this that we can make one panel, we can cut two panels out of that, and then we've got the wee part moving through here. Now, we've got a little bit of space that we have to figure out a way to move the eye around and through it, right? So we want to direct the eye now this way, and then technically it'll do that, and then move back around again to this way. We can develop our ballerina image further, draw an environment around her, you know, and then we've got this big overlay image, which actually takes up more like this space. And, you know, what we can consider ourselves to do here is to unify this part of the composition with the rest. We can do that with color value. We can do that with either mark making tools that we use to, this is in ballpoint pen and looks like some pencil crayon, so maybe we can use some ballpoint pen and pencil crayon through the rest of it. Could use the word sweat in the top left paper and work it down the hand as sweat. Hey, here we are, right there. Sweat. That suggestion is sweet. Awesome, Stacy. That's fantastic. So, okay, we'll do that. We'll put sweat in there, right? So, if we apply sweat up here, and I can use some of those letter stamps to do that as well, which plays further into the fact we got the stamped letters across the center. So that's a great idea. Now we can do that, or we can just do it digitally, and we'll see what we do for time. But we can lay that over whatever the visual image is. So that's a great idea. We're going to put that in. I like that a lot. So I think the first thing would be, how do we go about putting in, I'm looking for a white pencil, or is it am I going to have to use a black? We'll see. But we can put like a ballerina in and draw a different because of this part of the image, we can further that development. We can further it to be little ballerina dancing and movement. So dancing and moving, dance movement. Okay, so let's try that. So I've looked up source images, and eventually one day, I believe, one day, it will show me the thing I just asked for. Man, that robot takes a long time. So, okay, so I've got, this is my source images that I'm going to utilize. Okay, and I'm not going to blow these up anymore because we want to simplify the way that we're drawing this in. So if we've got this set up, we've already got this one position, so we don't want to redo that. But if we know that we're going to have sweat, up here in this area of the image. Okay, now we can draw a couple of different backgrounds of dance studio. What do you call it where a ballerina practices? We're going to go with dance studio. So if we overlay with that some, can you see the white peeking? I hope you can. So we're going to draw some ballerinas moving through our composition and pulling their eye around, and we can lay it over top so that we've got one here, one here, one here, you know, and that allows this transition from this space over to here to here. Okay, and then the difference with this piece of the image is that we can utilize text to value that in. At the bar, there you go. Okay, well let me pull this out a little bit. How's that? So that we can get the bar incorporated in. One of my favorite things I've ever heard, and I've heard a lot of things, is that some football teams have their football players practice dance and practice trying to do a little bit of ballet in order to have a sense of like a sort of possessive sense of their own physicality, and you know, focusing on the way that the muscles strain through the body as they're moving it, and it was a really interesting article I read on that, and I wonder, wouldn't that be great if all football players had to do that? You know, so okay, so I'm drawing in our ballerina, you know, and really simplistic, and we'll develop her more as we go along. Sorry I did that off camera, and I apologize. All right, and so little low neckline here, and then we'll have ladies and gentlemen, you're going to have to forgive me. I don't know what the term is for the floppy fabric that makes up the little poofy shoulder, whatever you call it. Crinoline. That's not what it is. It's just a word I've heard that relates to dresses. Crinoline. That's probably not even the right word. Do you mean Blenolin, Christopher? Doesn't even know what Blenolin is. So we're drawing in our ballerina, and I'm drawing it as a flat static image over top of whatever else. So she's crossing over that paint or the tape. I'm sorry, she's got this random bits of paint underneath. Sleeves. They're called sleeves, Chris. Hello. I love it. Sleeves. I prefer fluffy bits. Okay. So, well, let's get something done here today instead of just blabbing at you. I hope people don't mind the showing of books and supplies and stuff. I'm just trying to introduce new ideas or different things that we can use in random combinations, but showing some different visual examples of creative expression that might inspire you to produce the next great artwork for mankind. Before the Simian Revolution or the AI overcoming us all takes place. Nancy says, I think it's great. You're so talented. Shh. Thanks, Nancy. Okay, so here is the larger frilly foofy bit at the bottom, which is the most acceptable example of tutu that a person can use in conversation. So we'll put that in here. And then, and we're going to develop this more in a little bit in just a sec. Okay, but we just wanted to get the basic idea for the form down. I'm going to switch from the white pencil here to, because we're going over this white surface and I can't see what I'm drawing, we'll switch over to this Mastercraft pencil and a pencil of champions everywhere. So there's her legs coming through here as we continue to develop her through. Back of the calf, we'll get those tiptoes in there. And then we'll continue that down here below. Ow! Just drawing it makes my toes hurt. Okay, and then I believe that we wanted to have her holding a bar. Now, is this the bar that you go up and say, "I'll have the usual, Sam," or is this a bar on a mirrored wall? I'll let you guys judge that. So again, as anything else that I do, and any other ideas that I take on, if there's something that you see here that you want to explore further, do your own interpretation of, please do it. I'd love to see it. I love when people share that. There's no, that's the ego gets checked at the door, folks. We're all in this together. So, you know, there's no such thing as one is the right and the other is the wrong, you know, as far as it goes to how to tell or how to interpret these elements, how to interpret this kind of a story. So the page suggestion is one word, passion. Okay, so we're using a ballerina or a dancer in stages of dancing throughout the page to imply some movement and direction for the eye. But we're also talking about, it takes heart. So, you know, so here we go. Here's our first ballerina, and we'll put some glass paneling up there above, and then I guess because of that I'll have to show, you know, another perspective of our ballerina who is dancing, and the arm moving up to the, whoops, I'm so sorry, the arm moving up to the form, and there's the shoulder, and there's the head, and here's some of the tutu, and some of the hips. I'm going to develop that. We'll see how far we want to take this line, but if we have this fancy business above the arm, and then we have this piece of form to represent the body. I tend not to draw, this is, okay, here's a random aside for people to make memes out of. I tend not to draw, despite drawing sequential comics, and there's real propensity in that to draw women that are very top-heavy, and the rest of them has no weight at all. I tend not to do that because I find it more interesting to try to represent people as people are shaped. So, as opposed to the different shapes that people rarely are without paying for it. So, you know, okay, so I've got her facing away this direction here, and I've got her facing this direction there. Because in a mirror image, it's the opposite therein. If you see me looking this way, on a 3/4 angle, away from the lens, right? The reverse of that would be, hey, right? So, and then here is the outfit there. And then this leg would reveal more of the back leg because, again, reversed image. So this leg would be pulled forward, and we'd see more of the other leg that bends around. So, Mariah says, well said. Was the well said part about you can make the memes, that all the memes that you want from this? You know, I just sort of expect those things. If there's one thing that people will make memes out of with each other, is the stuff that you don't want them to do it with. So before I do this, let's do this. So if we have, this is the space of the room, and that, okay, we're going to draw in some more of these mirror elements. Here, really, it's not going to appear too deeply, but drawing in these mirror elements, okay, and let's push that angle back even more, like that, and as that moves back, through the composition we're going to try to sort of suggest more depth in this image. And the way that we can do that, right, is by the reflection. So if we have, going back to here, if we have the back wall, and it seems like the room is X amount of space, but because we have the reflection of it, we can punch that angle just, this line's going to bug me. Get in there, Derwin. Get in there. Okay. So that we can draw the same items here, but we can push that line back. Put a mirror up right here so that you can see it. And when you look in that mirror at the same room that you're in, that mirror is going to have a deeper sense to it, a deeper amount of depth to it when you move that angle just so slightly as to capture that vanishing line. So, oh, top heavy, yeah, top heavy. Well, we're all different shapes and forms, folks, but you know, when it's just everybody in your story has these unrealistic proportions, and that's expected to be the norm, I think that sort of suggests that maybe somebody needs to learn to do a little more study and variation in drawing. So what the blue lines that we have in here, in the wee part, from whatever the image that was cut off of, and that's the one that has the, hey, I brought my letters out today. Wee, right? So I've cut wee away from that and put it in and bonded into this surface. I'm going to ignore these blue lines. They don't matter. But we're going to enhance the wee part. So we could do it a couple things. We can come in with, and I'll just do something quick. We'll just do something quick and sloppy. If I take a little acrylic, and I'm going to try to pull in some of the color that's in the background here. I'll just use this bright red, and we'll bend it to our will. Okay, so I've got this little dab of acrylic in here. I've put some water on this, and I'm just going to wash it throughout this part of the image. Is it the exact proper red? I don't know. I don't care. It's more red than it was a minute ago. And we can do a little bit more with it as we go, but what we're going to do is not cut in the part where the ballerina is. We'll cut around it. And it sort of works with that pink area too, doesn't it? So now we've got we've pushed that value back, and so already, without doing more development of bringing the values forward of some more whites and different tones into the ballerina and her outfit, already there's a separation of this light area pulling forward towards us and this red area blending more into that background. So it's those things about playing with the surfaces, right? What else is that? Top. Read up. Up. Oh, what? Oh, I'm so sorry. I missed what Stacia said here. I apologize. Stacia says, brain flowing could be practice the dancer, that it would be the program cover. It goes in a circle from sweat, practice, wiping sweat, the showtime. Stacy, that's brilliant. I mean, that's exactly the sort of instigation that we are all sort of pursuing. I would love to see you to do that. I would love to see you do that page specifically, because it's you're defining it very clearly, symbolically in your head, the different parts of it that you want to represent. Now the fun part for you becomes, how do I organize those shapes together, or how do I organize those images together, and what shapes am I going to use, and what direction am I going to do it? Am I going to do it with one image or a number of images? Am I going to do those images in a kind of cascading portrait style format like this one that we're using? I'll show you the difference of what I mean by formats. This is a portrait format, upright. Okay? This is a landscape format. I have done story pages. I showed you story pages today. They're in both examples. Both are equally viable and equally valid. But where would you pursue that? Where would you pursue that story? I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it, but we can incorporate some of that in here too. But yeah, that's such a clearly defined interpretation of utilizing ballerina and passion, right? That's awesome. That's awesome. And rather getting into the whole heart symbol like I've got here, you're getting into, showtime, right? That's great. I love it. I love it, I love it, I love it. Okay, so I'll jump back over to the zoom. So we've pushed this back a little bit already with the acrylic, and then we can come in. We can start coming in with, the white Posca and start adding in some little design elements as we start putting the dress in. And we'll start thickening up this image so that it has its own space away from the back. It's pulling up off of the background now because of the difference between the contrast of value. Light color, dark color. Side by side, one seems to come towards you, one seems to push away from you. And that changes and adjusts to some extent by the size of those values. So if you've got a really large light value and a really small dark value directly beside it, you'll still feel a sense of balance. And it's just because of the push and pull of color and value. And Hans Hofmann was a teacher of the American School of Abstraction in Long Island, New York, 1950s and 60s. Taught Robert De Niro's parents there. Became Robert De Niro's godfather. Anyways, but he talked about that immensely. So here we go with tying in some of these elements now. Now this ballerina is jumping forward. And the fun part and then we can put some different colors to the leggings and to the flesh tones and her headpiece or hair. But there's a fun contrasting thing that happens with the light version of the ballerina and the dark version of the ballerina. And so those two things together on the same page allows your eye to move around. It's kind of fun, that sort of jazz. I likes it a lot. What are we at? We're at 1:32. We'll go for a couple more minutes here. So I'm going to introduce some more shapes into the top of her costume here, right? And start to develop this up a little bit. And then the other thing I often try to think of before I start putting down all the colors and values is I think about the form and the contour of any given subject, whether it's a person, whether it's a car. We need to think about the shape of it, the shape of language, and the rounded edges, and the parts that are raised areas and the parts that aren't. And so in this case, because it's a female character, and that we think about the anatomy, and we think about how here's the start of the abdomen here, but rather than drawing big circles to denote lady parts, which parts of boys have too, by the way, just not so developed, let's look at the raised part of it with light, and we'll define it in that regard, and then we'll go through and we'll subtly define the area below it that has the light hitting it more directly. And then as we bring this value up more, and then we'll eventually bring this up so that it's a lighter, they're both white areas, but this is more of a solid and this is more of a subdued white. so that you can clearly understand that the collection of the light from above is on the areas hit directly by that light. And so it's a way of drawing forms, in this case, this lady's upper body, without just using geometric shapes or without using hard lines. And it allows us to try to have a more softer value, a softer edge to it. A good example of that would be the artist that I told you about earlier today, which is Jeffrey Jones. If you get a chance, even if you just search up images by the painter, you'll see all kinds of examples of subdued light and using softer values in order to intimate volume of form. It's also something that was really strongly done in the Pre-Raphaelite school, right? And sharp examples of it would be Alphonse Mucha or Aubrey Beardsley from the Deco period. So, okay, so we've got that coming together, and then I'll just start to apply the white Swanee hat or whatever it might be that our ballerina is wearing, and we'll put some crisp hits of tone throughout there. So we've now got a little more development in our ballerina. And so now it becomes a case of taking us a little bit further, drawing a couple more. Sorry if I did that off panel, I apologize. So now we've got a couple more places that we can put the dancing motif to move through the page, and maybe somebody here, maybe overlap by somebody down below, so that you get a sense of the movement like that by the one character overlapping the next. And then when the text part comes through, which you'll see on the posted page tomorrow, and we talk about passion, and sometimes it's perseverance, I mean, we could example perseverance by drawing a small panel right here of the toes, the whole standing on the toes business, which is always the easiest recognizable way to show the physical challenges that ballerinas go through in developing their craft, is to be able to develop the ability to stand up on their toes like that. So anyways, as we further that along with the composition, we draw the reflection in the background here. Our image starts to come together, and we're unifying it all together. I'll put some red around the heart area here to move it into the back of the surroundings of the hand, to move it into the background of this value that's in the image, this predominant red. Yeah, so it's all coming together, folks. Okay, well, with that, I'm going to sign off. We've got a couple things I got to get done, and I will work on some of these things. I will be posting up the 3 additional pages that I've already got done for this week on Patreon, but you can find the stuff there, or on Facebook, or on Instagram. Tell all your friends. Tell the whole bunch. Come on out and have some fun. Anybody wants to suggest ideas, anybody wants to throw word prompts at me, feel free to do it, in the chat during the stream, or in the comments for the videos, or in the comment section under any of the posts that I do. And we'll take them on. We'll put them in the book, and we'll give them a shot. Okay? And anybody that sees any of the suggestions that I've done that they want to try, please do. It's by all means, I'd love to see them. It's not going to be the same as whatever I'm doing. It's going to be your own thing, and I want to see what you're doing. So, with that, thank you very much, everybody. I will be back tomorrow at 2 p.m. EST. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now. Thanks for coming out.